Before we start, I would like to cross an announcement that proceedings of the entire event are being recorded, so everyone is humbly requested to put out their phones on silent mode, please. I extend a warm welcome to all present in the interactive session with guest expert Dr. Simon Moore, reader in One Health at University of Liverpool, United Kingdom, jointly appointed scientist, International Livestock Research Institute, Ethiopia. A session organized by Division of Veterinary Epidemiology and Preventive Medicine, Faculty of Veterinary Science. I take this opportunity to accord a warm and cordial welcome to esteemed Director, Education and Dean Student Welfare, SKUAST Kashmir, Professor M.A. Siddiqui, Sir, Chief Guest of the event. Worthy Dean Faculty of Veterinary Science, SKUAST Kashmir, Professor Muhammad Tufail Bawi, Sir, as Guest of Honor. Respected Deans of Subject Matter Faculties, Health, respected heads from all the divisions of various faculties related to One Health, our guest expert, who has come from far and wide to grace the workshop and this event. Flowers are the bounty of nature, which express humility and reflect warmth and welcome. For this, may I request our worthy Dean, Faculty of Veterinary Science, to honor the chief guest, Professor M.A. Siddiqui, sir, with the bouquet. May I request Professor Abdul Hai, Sir, Head Division of Veterinary Extension and in charge of Tree Center, or Dr. Ajaz, sir, to present a bouquet to Dean Faculty of Veterinary Science, Professor Muhammad Al Bandi, sir. Now, may I again invite Dr. Ijaz Ahmadar to felicitate Dr. Simon Moore with the bouquet.
The request of Professor Azmut sir, if he is here, please go down.
Now, may I humbly request Professor M.A. Siddiqui, sir, and Dean Faculty of Veterinary Science to felicitate Dr. Simon Moore with a token of affection and reverence.
As per our Kashmiri tradition, this is paper mache. So we, both of you, want to just provide you with this appropriate love. This you can have a handbag like this.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. I now call upon Dr. Ejaz Ahmadar, in charge head division of veterinary epidemiology and preventive medicine, also organizing secretary of the event, to present program overview. Dr. Ejaz.
Thank you for accepting our invitation. Deans of subject matter faculties, heads of the divisions, who are all related to the One Health initiative. I'm Ijaz Amadar, assistant professor working in the division of veterinary epidemiology. And I forgot to mention Dr. Siobhan more. She's our expert. She will be with us for today, and she will also have a lecture on Monday. Regarding this One Health initiative, let me tell you that it is not a new thing. We are just trying to communicate, collaborate, coordinate, and build the capacity, provide a platform where all the concerned departments, concerned sectors, be it the animal health sector, be it the medical sciences, be it the environmental sciences, or be it the policymakers. So we want to collaborate. We want to tell each and everybody that till date we have worked separately, individually, we are excellent, but now is the time, because of the changing global scenario, now is the time, let us shake our hands together. And in between, since I was going outside, I forgot to mention our special guests from SKUAST-K community medicine. We have Dr. Rabani and the colleague, and also internal quality assurance cell coordinators and co-coordinators. So there are a number of, I cannot name everybody. We have Professor Azmat sir, who is looking after this program, basically, who has sponsored this program. And what I was talking about, that individually we have excelled, but now is the time to join the hands together. The scenario, the global world has changed. And this probably is a prelude to that 5-day workshop, which is going to be held from Monday onwards. And we thought, let's have an interactive session, because if you take
Joseph, Siddiqui só Siddiqui só
just take care about Honorable Vice Chancellor will be joining us through virtual mode. The moment he will join us, we'll have his address. Please, I'll tell you, take care of that. So I was saying that because there are certain distractions, I was talking about that building the network together. Okay, this One Health initiative is not a domain, or it is not a prerogative of the Division of Veterinary Epidemiology and Preventive Medicine alone. It belongs to all of us. That's why you all have been invited to this, so that we will develop a roadmap. See how SKUAST-Kashmir as an institution of excellence in agri education. If I talk about a little bit of SKUAST-Kashmir, that is now recognized at a national and international level as the best agricultural university in the country. So if we talk about the best agricultural university in the country, we have subject matter faculties with agriculture, horticulture, sericulture, animal sciences. Okay, so that means in itself is a One Health. But simple thing is that if by today or till date we were not coordinating with each other, communicating with each other, networking with each other, pooling and sharing the resources together. But now is the time, let us accept this thing. Let's come out of the individual cocoons and let us start sharing and caring for the natural resources. And you might be aware about the latest initiative about the One Health at New Delhi. So I believe that as a SKUAST-K, we are very ahead of that curve. We have initiated the process when Honorable Vice Chancellor and Azmat sir agitated about having such an initiative, and they tasked few of the individuals who are working this SKUAST to draft a proposal for that. But that is not the end. That exercise is not done. Now today, this is the platform where we have to build the consensus, where we have to recommend, we have to build a roadmap so that we can submit it to the concerned authorities, to the institution, and from the institution it will go to the government sector. And you are free to express your views, whatever you would like. So that ultimately we want our SKUAST Institute to excel not only in agri education, but prove that, tell the world, tell the nation that we are the best in the country. We are the best in the country because we have provided the model for National Education Policy 2020. And for this reason, we are here to discuss the roadmap for One Health as an initiative. We can collaborate with. So far, I believe that we have not any linkages with the Premier Institute of Medical Sciences in Srinagar, and this is the platform that will join them to this One Health initiative. And I'm sure that with the end of this day, the deliberations will go on, and we'll be able to draft a policy so that we can submit it to the concerned quarters for instituting the One Health in Sukhas Kashmir. I'm sure that with your support, with your cooperation, uh, we will, and with the support guidance from the director of education, that is always supportive. Everybody is supporting our university, and this year ending, uh, if I'm not that much optimistic, we will have the SKUAST Kashmir One Health School of One Health, where it will all the divisions, all the related individuals will work together and for the transformation of the society. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ejaz, for sharing your views and summary about the program. Uh, may I request now, Dean Faculty of Veterinary Science, Professor M.P. Pandey, sir, to kindly throw light or enlighten us on the highlights of veterinary faculty.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Honorable Director Education and Dean Students Welfare Officer, Professor Anil Siddiqui sir, expert One Health, Dr. Siab, more uh, expert, other senior professors, Dr. Azmat Alam Khan, OSW, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Deans of various faculties, Dr. Rehana, of Veterinary Sciences and Animal Husbandry, welcome you all for an interactive session with Miss Siab Moore from University of Liverpool, UK, with scientist, Animal Science and Human Health Program, International Livestock Research Institute, Ethiopia, which is a part of 5-day workshop, antibiotic, integrating epidemiology and biostatic for implementation and research and policy planning in One Health. Well, regarding the Faculty of Veterinary Sciences and Animal Husbandry, it was established in the year 1984 as a constant unit of SKUAST Kashmir. The faculty has registered a tremendous growth in its infrastructural facilities and other activities. The faculty has gained national reputation under the Star College status given by Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India. The faculty is presently following the curriculum of Veterinary Council of India. As such, there are uh, currently 19 divisions besides two animal farms, that is Mountain Research Institute for Cattle and Mountain Research Center for Sheep and Goat. The faculty offers the UG program, BVSC&H, which is a 5.5 degree year program, and postgraduate program, that is Masters in Veterinary Sciences, and PhD program, which is a 3-year program. The institute has achieved national and international reputation in the area of research, starting from the basic and strategic research. The institute is carrying research activities involving the frontier science like cloning and homicidal. The major achievements of the Faculty of Veterinary Sciences are the first cloned goat, that is Pashmina goat, named Nuri, was successfully cloned in the Faculty of Veterinary Sciences by our scientists. Vaccines have been developed against foot rot disease in sheep, and then a patent also has been given for fabrication of innovative charkha. So another achievement is the introduction of PEGB gene in sheep for raising the lambing ratio to 1.5. This faculty has more than 85 state-of-art laboratories besides the referred veterinary clinics with modern diagnostic facilities. Our alumni are working in some of the national and international research institutes all over India and all over the world. So this is about our Faculty of Veterinary Science. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for enlightening us. Now, may I request Dr. Azmat Alam Khan, OPI Nahib, and OSD Vice Chancellor for his comments on IDP Nahib, SKUAST Kashmir.
Assalamu alaikum and very good afternoon. The chief guest of today's function, Professor Siddiqui, Dean Director Education at the Dean of Students Welfare, the Dean of the Faculty of Veterinary Sciences, Professor M.T. Pandey, our expert guest, Dr. Siobhan Moore, deans from other faculties of Kashmir, fisheries care, associate dean of engineering. We have associate dean from sericulture. And we have our teachers who have both graduated, but still we bank on their wisdom, we always bank on their advice, and all the faculty from various divisions that are associated with this One Health, that are connected to this One Health program, research scholars, care, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to be here among this, I call it as an elite group that has come together for some good cause, because we here now is the time for multidisciplinary approach to our problems. We cannot sit in silos and continue with our only the particular thing. We have to look here and there, and we have to collaborate among ourselves. And then once we have the strong collaborations within the institutions, within various departments in an institution, then between various institutions in the state, and this can be extended to the global level also. So this is an endeavor, and in one of the endeavors that must has been already known for doing things out of box, and it is because of this out of box thinking that we have inculcated in this cost of Kashmir that probably that gives us the good name in the country, and that gives us those rankings, and that's what we are very proud of, and we should be. As far as I have been told to tell you something about NAHAP, for our experts, this NAHAP is actually a national program here in India. It is called as National Agriculture Higher Education Project. The aim is to revolutionize this, to transform the agricultural education in our country. And we started with this NAHAP way back in 18, when it was being planned, when it was being the DPRs were being written. Soon, then in 20, our country adopted one new education policy that is called AP 2020. What was written by us, what was thought by us in 18, then when we found in 20, there was a lot of parallelism we found that in the new education policy, the things uh, that are enshrined in that policy, they are already there in our that program or that we follow that Institute Development Program of NAHED. A lot of things we have been doing over these years under NAHEP, and for that, NAHEP is being the NAHEP activities at this university, SKUAST of Kashmir. It is going on in various universities in the country, but as far as the implementation goes, as far as realization of objectives or outcomes of these NAHEP activities, our university is being ranked among the top three institutions across the country as far as the implementation of these NAHEP related realization of those objectives is concerned. And it is not because of anybody's any single person's effort, it is because of all our collective efforts. It is from the officers of the university, the deans of various faculties, then heads of divisions, then we have all the scientists, individual scientists, and the students who have really contributed and who have put their extra effort into taking this NAHEP activities seriously and then coming up with novel programs that we try to fund under NAHEP. Similar program was Dr. Ajaz came forth with this idea of having this sort of a brainstorming session. If we are to discuss this One Health, it is not one man's baby. We are all the stakeholders from veterinary sciences, from agricultural sciences, from environmental sciences, from our medical fraternity, from our departments, our departments of animal husbandry, husbandry, all related departments. We are all collectively stakeholders. So when to have a brainstorming session and then to discuss this thing and how to go about it, that is a great initiative that this division of veterinary epidemiology and preventive medicine has taken up. And when it came to before NAHEP for support, we were always ready to support such type of initiatives. I believe that the cooperation or that oneness which we have demonstrated in implementation of the NAHEP, that will continue, and our march, the university's march towards excellence. If we are presently the fourth best agriculture university in the country, our march to be at the top will continue, and we will collectively realize that objective. And in a very short time, maybe in the next ranking, our Samira is here. In the next ranking, we aim to be the top state agriculture university in the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Next, I request Dr. Siobhan Moore to share her expertise and endeavors in global health and how universities can help in visualization of One Health. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much for having me here. It's very humbling to be in the presence of so many heads of departments and colleges and schools and faculties and the university leadership. Thank you very much for having me here and coming to listen to today and to interact with each other, which is really the point of this session. So my name is Siobhan Moore, as you've heard, and maybe just to to explain a background a little bit because people often ask, where do I come from and where is my mindset, my mindset at? I trained as a vet, and when I went through vet school, I became quite interested in global health and in human health as a consequence of that. And so after my veterinary degree, I went into a PhD program, which had me becoming a public health epidemiologist. So my subsequent degree was in parasitology and epidemiology and cryptosporidiosis in children. And I think it was through that shift from going from the veterinary perspective of things and into a public health perspective of things that I also started to realize that my mindset was different, even to someone who works in public health, even in a veterinary setting, because of my exposure to medical doctors and to the ways that they approach their problems. And so I think from there, I really sought throughout my career to probably not spend most of my time with people who have the same professional training, but instead found a lot more delight in working with people that have a very different perspective. And there's a lot more aha moments when you're working in that kind of context. So that's the background. Vet plus public health, along with the human side, not veterinary public health. I think it's first of all important to acknowledge, why One Health in the first place. Particularly from the veterinary perspective, we've always thought we were doing something in the human health space originally, right? We have veterinary public health. We've been tackling diseases like brucellosis for a long time. This is not a new thing for us to then be worried or thinking about the human health side of things. But the reason why One Health is different to veterinary public health is the actual need to work with people from a different discipline. And that's become all the more important as time has gone on because our societies have become so much more complex. We interact with so many more places purely as a function of our food system. So I think that's a really key point for your organization. You're an agricultural college. And agriculture, I don't want to say agriculture can be blamed for everything. It can't be. It needs to be the solution to everything. When we talk about emerging infectious diseases, which is my area of specialty, studies have shown that around 40% of emerging infectious diseases come from drivers associated with the food production system. So that's related to land use changes, as you'd be familiar with. We were talking about some of the land use changes happening in this area. So now, on a planetary point of view, there's 40% of the land mass has been converted to human use, and that's largely agriculture. That's just for one species, humans. Right? All of the other species have now got to deal with the other areas that they can't access because we've converted so much area either for our own food or to raise feed for livestock. The land use changes are a very significant challenge related to agriculture. Intensification, how do we deal with trying to produce food for a very large and increasing human population? Well, we do that efficiently by intensifying. When we intensify, we raise disease transmission rates quite substantially. And that has then led to the practices of using antimicrobial antibiotics in the context of poultry and pig production, especially in other countries. So again, we've created this storm of needing to raise feed and food output, changing the landscape significantly, introducing medical medicines into our mix as well. And then also food system changes more broadly. So we've talked a lot about the need to import mutton into this state because you can't produce enough locally, and that happens globally, right? We have very, very complicated food chains now where once we used to raise our food locally, and the probability of some contaminated meat happening in this one household is not going to impact another household or another country somewhere down the line. So now we see these global outbreaks of disease because we're so connected, either through trade or through travel in general. So agriculture is very much at the forefront of a lot of this development changes. This need to produce food efficiently and safely in a way that doesn't precipitate other problems like antimicrobial resistance or new emerging infectious diseases. So it's very, very relevant, I think, to your institution. What I don't hear as much, though, is this link to the health sector and the human health side. And this is really where, coming from a veterinary or an agricultural background, is where I think the magic happens. So for a long time in agriculture, there's been a really large focus on, producing more, right? The crops, it was always about producing more output per square foot. And there's been this assumption, I think, that increasing output somehow translates into improved nutrition. But in fact, we've seen quite the opposite, right? In a lot of countries, nutritional status has gone backwards, partly because of food safety problems, but also because of the quality of the food that we're eating is not really what it should be at, right? So again, this mentality of just producing more and more food, but not really thinking about the quality, has not necessarily resulted in the human impact that we expected. So what would be the difference then if we had worked all along with human nutritionists and with human health providers to understand the impact of agricultural interventions on the shifts that were happening over that time? We introduced a lot of changes in general, but particularly in agriculture, without really having an understanding of the broader impacts of those sorts of changes. So this is where I think One Health is really critical. If we work with our own specialty discipline with other people who can bring different perspectives, then that's where we can have a lot more understanding, a holistic understanding, or systems understanding of the problems and identifying novel solutions for meeting this need for increased production of food, for instance. So then that's the why One Health. Then there's the question of universities and where universities fit in. I think it's really important to recognise that when we often talk about engaging with communities and talking with communities about the impact or the interaction between humans, animals, and the environment, people understand this. I mean, particularly in a country like Ethiopia, where I live, the people are very reliant on their livestock. They understand very well that when the drought impacts their animals, that they are impacted because their animals die or they have to move further away and they can't access as much milk. So people understand the connection between human, animal, and environment very well. What happens though when we undertake professional or disciplinary training is we become experts in something very particular. I mean, we tend to sort of lose sight of this other bigger picture that actually our veterinary medicine is connected in many ways to the way that human medicine people will deliver services on the human side, or that the work that we do as veterinarians is very much connected to the work that farmers would do in animal husbandry. I'm saying it's quite unusual to have animal husbandry and veterinary science in the one program. Now those two things in many universities are separated as well. So it's actually universities where we create these silos. That's where we develop our specialized attitudes towards our discipline, and our discipline being better than other disciplines oftentimes. And that's where I think universities really need to think and rethink about how we're teaching our students. We should be teaching them skills to work with others, to understand the perspectives of different disciplines, and helping them when they graduate go into the workforce, not only think from the perspective of what they can bring from their own discipline, but at what times do they need to make contact with someone in a different setting to handle a problem. So we see this oftentimes in outbreak response, when it might be an animal outbreak, that there might be a few human cases that might be happening in the same location, but because the animal health providers and the medical providers aren't talking to each other, they don't connect the dots, and it's not very clear that that outbreak is in fact a problem that's affecting humans and animals, and oftentimes is precipitated by some sort of environmental consequence. So what if instead our graduates learned the skills during their training of when they should be reaching out, when do they need more information, when should they work with others, so that they can be strong themselves in their own discipline, but then also know the limits of their discipline and then reach out and work with others. And so I'm really happy to see that you have education represented here, because I think a lot of this is about creating an environment for students so that when they graduate, they have this capacity to work across disciplines and have more appreciation for what different disciplines do. A lot of universities are trying to tackle this through different ways. I know that you've talked about a Master's of Epidemiology in this university that would target, veterinarians and potentially public health people and potentially environmental health people. Other universities opt for some interprofessional opportunities, so they just have students working in groups across programs. So they have more opportunity to learn from people with a different attitudes. But not only that, they would then graduate with that experience of knowing, oh, actually, this person in this different discipline can offer me something in this kind of situation that I'm working in. And this is again going to be all the more important as we go forward, particularly with climate change and the links with climate and health and the changes that the planet is facing, quite dire prospects. And so again, if we graduate students with an attitude where that's really central to not only them practicing in one specific discipline, but working within the context of a broader environment, and that can be really helpful. So that's obviously the academic programs and the way that we can work as universities. And there's a lot of formative research and other things that we can talk about in the interaction on what are best practices for master's programs, what's failed, what have been the ways that different universities have tackled them. Research, obviously a major component of what a university does. Creating an environment for people from different disciplines to work together to address these problems is really central to that. And it's not just about One Health, as you said, you use the word multidisciplinary, and that's exactly it. It's actually about creating opportunities for people to work in a multidisciplinary environment. In One Health, we also, and even more so, talk about transdisciplinary. So transdisciplinary meaning that you're also involving government and communities in this process of helping to identify local solutions and implement those local solutions as well. So when we talk about research in the context of One Health, it's not just research for the sake of a publication. It's research for the sake of changing something in the system. And the system, again, recognizes human, animal, and environment across that board. So teaching students systems thinking as part of their research career is also particularly important when it comes to One Health. And then community service, I guess, is the other area that many universities have. We haven't really talked about that so much here, but I think you talked about outreach and those sorts of things. So in different universities, I've seen that implemented differently. In Ethiopia and many African universities, they have quite strong community programs. I've seen universities deliver One Health programs through that, where they have, again, teams of students from veterinary, from medicine, from public health, from social science, going out and doing evaluations, community evaluations, to identify what are the problems that the communities are focusing on or experiencing. And then they will design interventions related to that. But again, going out as a multidisciplinary team is really key to helping to identify problems. If you send medical students out to work with the communities, what they see as a problem is going to be very different to what veterinary students will see as a problem. And not only that, the solutions are very different, right? Medical professionals often see animals as a source of disease. Veterinarians, animal health professionals often see animals as a source of livelihood. And there's a real disconnect around those ideas. So having people on the team that can understand the medical consequences, the economic consequences of solutions is really important and holistic to understanding community-based interventions. Other universities that I'm aware of have thought about it in the context of providing services to maybe rural poor or homeless people in different contexts. Again, through sort of more of a clinical facility that might be targeted, so that it might be a veterinarian working alongside a medical provider. Clearly, only the medical provider is doing that with the human patient, and the veterinarian is doing it with the animal patient. But they're approaching that together. They're going out and visiting in that context together. This is something that we're implementing in pastoralist areas of Ethiopia and Kenya and Somalia. So again, where these are communities that are really fully dependent on their livestock, and oftentimes they'll vaccinate their livestock, but not their children, because they don't have the mentality that medical interventions are important. But somehow, if you bring along a livestock vaccination, they understand the relevance of a vaccine for children in that context, and they'd be more inclined to vaccinate their child with a child vaccine. So these are examples of ways in which universities have developed and designed programs to have outreach that capitalize on this multidisciplinary types of approaches. Great from the point of view of then educating students and graduates to work together, which will be a lifelong skill, but then also giving back in the context of the community. So that's just an introduction, and as I say, we're discussing, happy to talk more about research, community, or education programs that's being discussed about that.
Thank you, Dr. Moore, for sharing your vast experience on global health and the roadmap for the global health. Now, the proceedings of the event are now handed over to Dr. Ejaz Ahmadar to moderate the interactive session. And I request Dr. Idris Mehraj and Feroz Ahmed Loan to join the session as rapporteur.
Thank you, Nuzat. May I request to Dr. Idris and Feroz to take please occupy the seats up there. And before we'll invite the questions or suggestions from the deans of the subject matter faculties and heads of the divisions. And we are also having with us the veterinarian who's working with the Srinagar Municipal Corporation. Dr. Tawheed is with us, and we have the high-rank officials from the Sheep and Animal Husbandry Department as well. Okay. So let's open this question and answer session. Yeah, one thing to tell you that there's a feedback form. We have placed it in the folders. I request everybody just it will take you just a couple of minutes to fill that feedback form. That will help us to develop the roadmap also for this One Health initiative. That is inserted in the folders. So, where do the mics are done? Nice up. Please take the mics. Shahnaz. So we have the stalwarts of the veterinary science, Dr. Malik and Dr. Zia, and we have the deans of subject matter faculties. First, we would like to hear from you, sir. Yeah, please.
So thank you for inviting me over here. Thank you, and my colleagues, my friends. Thank you to all. Well, my Betty Jones, your professor, she was my colleague, she was my training colleague at WHO training programs, different. We worked on the antimicrobial resistance spectrum. Now, the problem lies food security and quality. The problem lies food security and quality. These are the two things which has come up very, very harsh into the world. Why is now, since you work in Ethiopia, you're from Liverpool, you learn I work with these my professionals from different countries where we worked onto the food side. That where your work is towards the food security and its specialization. Number one, and number two, what is your epidemiological curriculum for controlling diseases which are transmitted from animals to humans, human to animals, then environment to animals, and all these things. And what is the epidemiological setup which has been put forward since I work with the WHO right now also. And I'm a consultant professor with that on the antimicrobial and foodborne pathogens. So what is your attitude towards that?
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Please. Yes, one please.
Maybe I tackle the second question first, and if you come back, go back. So epidemiology curriculum, I can talk about that from a couple of different perspectives. So, in the Australian veterinary curriculum, there is a veterinary public health, uh, um, it's called a unit of studies. The students get about 2 semesters worth of epidemiology training, which is often focused on outbreak investigation kind of scenarios in that context. I will say student level engagement is another question. I think we've over time, because so much of the veterinary curriculum has shifted to be on small animal focus in that context. Uh, it's hard to get some students engaged with epidemiology as a concept. They don't really like numbers. I think a lot of vets are quite scared of numbers. I think I've even had students cry in some of these sessions. So, but I think with the shift that's happened, and now we've just had COVID, so there's been a real revolution around the general public understanding epidemiology for much more now. I mean, I don't know what is a concept that's being talked about in the news. So now is an opportunity to really engage a lot more with students in that side of things. We have at Liverpool tried to launch recently sort of masters in pandemic sciences, and epidemiology is going to be one of the core components of that, obviously, but it was really focused around epidemics and pandemics. And students' interest in that degree have been very low. And I think that's because at this point everyone's sick of hearing the word pandemic and they just don't want to get a career in pandemic. So it sort of had this dual effect. There's been more interest in epidemiology, but now everyone's sick of epidemiology at the same time. So it's been complicated. Going back to University of Sydney, we also had a Masters of Veterinary Public Health Management, which was very much targeting particularly government veterinarians who needed extra skills in epidemiology. That was a really successful program for quite a long time, but the student numbers were quite low. So this is something that I want to maybe caution your university about. Really do your research around the business case for how many students you need to enroll in this degree in order to make the degree viable at the university level. The veterinary public health masters at the University of Sydney was getting down to only 5 students and eventually was considered non-viable. And the university abandoned it 2 years before COVID hit. And that also had a knock-on effect. We had another master's which was on health security, which was similar to what you're proposing, which is constraints of training, and one of which was human and animal. And then because the veterinary components were dropped off, it made it impossible to deliver the human and animal training. So there's lots of different models for tutoring epidemiology curriculum, be that undergraduate or postgraduate. I think really it's only public health that has been able to integrate epidemiology as a core technical competency in their curriculum and have that be sustained and have students that are really engaged. On the veterinary side, it can be a lot more challenging, I think.
Regarding that one question, we talked about that ILRI, food and nutritional security in Ethiopia. In Ethiopia about food and nutritional security, your endeavors as one.
Yes, but I think I would criticize the CT system because there I think They are an organisation who has for a long time done a lot of research on agricultural output and not done that in a thoughtful way with nutritionists to them to understand the impact of that. That's shifting now, and there's a lot more cooperation to try to understand infectious disease impact of some of the changes in agricultural production, particularly with pesticides, and then also the nutritional changes. Ethiopia still suffers from acute malnutrition type things, and a lot of the aid agencies are the same sort of band-aid approach. I think now they're really trying to look at ways to have local food production be an answer to that. It's not that is not my specific area. I mean, infectious disease.
Thank you, Siobhan. Thank you very much, Siobhan. So next question. Yeah, please. Just a minute. We have been Faculty of Agriculture with us, please. Dr. Rihanna Habib-Khan, Siobhan, she's Dr. Rihanna Habib-Khan, Dean Faculty of Agriculture, SKUAST-K.
Good afternoon, everybody. Our honored guest, Dr. Siobhan or scientists from our region, Siobhan and all. I would like to ask one question only. That is, we know that some of the diseases are transmitted from animals to humans. There has been some evidence. And one thing, is there any evidence of having any disease transmitted from our food nutrition or food crops, field crops, apple or something into the humans, number one? And number two, do you think that the epidemics that are sometimes they are viral infections or sometimes like we have COVID or something, where they transmitted from animals to the humans, like many epidemics have occurred, and how many of them have been transmitted from animals to humans, number one, and how many, what is the evidence of, I know that from maybe from plant to animal it may occur, but from an plant to human, has there been any evidence? Or even from plant to the animal, has there been any evidence which we should take care of? And what precautions we should take so that we are not transmitting the diseases from our crops to the animals or to the humans?
Thank you.
So, um, so just last week there's been a case in international media about a woman in Australia who had a worm in her brain from a python. First ever time that this particular snake parasite was found in the worm in the brain of a woman. The pathway for that happening was that she would collect greens from around, like they're wild greens, so they're wild plants in an area that was occupied by pythons. So the main environmental cycle in this case is when there are feces, and oftentimes we use manure for fertilizer, right? Whenever there's feces getting onto plants, then there's a lot of potential for outbreaks through plants. But it's not the plant disease itself that transmits to humans, it's the animal disease. The plant is the intermediary host for that. In the US, a lot of food safety outbreaks are caused by plant origin foods, not animal source foods. A lot of it is plant origin foods. And that's because they tend to be less regulated, they tend to be less treated, water is not really regulated very well, so the water that is used for irrigation can be contaminated as opposed to drinking water, which is usually very strongly regulated. So yeah, plants can be a major vehicle. I would call them a vehicle for transmission, largely through people, parasites, or bacteria.
Yeah, this butterfly also. We've seen that it's
Yeah.
damage to the brain and damage to the
Liver
brain.
tubes,
Yeah,
Liver fluid comes from animals. That is for all.
So please, may I intervene here? Let's have the questions one by one, then everybody will give you a chance to intervene. Please.
I would personally also just get connected with Professor Ehana. Normally we see rodents, rats and others which are moving all along in houses, particularly in the rural areas. And what are the major diseases which may occur because they are going through those pieces also, and that rice and etc. is again being taken as such or in its worst. Is there any evidence that diseases are transmitted through that rat feces? Yes. One. The second, sir, is regarding bats. Bats. So there has been evidence that bats also throw some the urine or something, whatever. Has it any impact on human health in general? And can we put it in the domain of One Health for control? For this, please.
There's a lot of people in the audience and the answers to those questions. I think.
Yeah, we have a lot of questions.
Let's take note of that.
And I would like everybody that just have one question, please. Okay.
Okay, so rats, rodents, absolutely, not only feces, urine especially, leptospirosis is very common, and also plague, which is transmitted by fleas on rodents, so absolutely. Bats, for sure, the coronavirus probably came from bats often and that's true for most many.
What are the preventive, rather the measures which we should take?
Well, stop clearing land that is their habitat, right? I mean, it comes back to the land use area. You can't kill off that. If you do that, you're going to have problems with
It's part of the ecosystem.
so working with communities to understand risks posed by that. I don't know if people eat that in
No.
your
Not in this region.
yeah, but in some places they do, right? Or they interact with that.
Okay, thank you, Siobhan. We have a question from Professor Sharda, sir. Please, everybody will be given a chance. Just have a question. Professor Sharda, sir, wanted
I
to
was
say
telling that most of the parasitic infections are transmitted through contaminated food and water only.
Okay.
All roundworms, rheumatoid infections, and cystoid infections, they are transmitted through contaminated food and water only. So transmission through plants is very much important because when we are adding manure to our fields, that also contains parasitic eggs. So they complete the part of their life cycle in the environment, and the infection occurs through contaminated food and water.
thank you, sir, for adding to our knowledge. Yeah, we have Professor Bakal sir from Faculty of Agriculture. Yeah, please.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. If we go by the projected figures, world population is expected to touch 8.5 million by 2030.
On one hand, when we say that 40% of the diseases are coming from the people who are associated with various agricultural activities. The population explosion demands that a lot of people have to take up the agriculture in order to feed the tummy of growing population. On one hand, we say 40% comes disease comes from the people who are in the workplace. In that case, what's your expert opinion? Don't we feel that we rather need to emphasize more on the quality part of it rather than the quantity? So that at this point of time, if per capita consumption of food, say for example, is 1.5 kg, in terms of quality, if we happen to increase the adding quality, cannot we believe that we can reduce the quantum of food at the end of the day, they will be in a position to feed the growing population? What's your take?
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
I mean, there's no one size fits all answer to that question, right? In many countries, overconsumption is the main problem, and it would be fine for people to reduce the quantity of their food in very significant ways, or to shift to a more plant-based diet, not consume as much livestock. In other countries, in Ethiopia, it's all about trying to increase animal source food consumption because their diet is so poor in animal protein and is very plant-based. So I think the answer to that question is highly localized and understanding, and again, working with nutritionists to understand what is the level of nutrition in the community, what is the exact issue facing the communities that you're working with, and then looking at the ways to manage that. There's also been quite a complicated research field to draw a link between, okay, maybe we'll support farmers to raise more livestock or adopt new types of livestock. That doesn't necessarily translate to them consuming more livestock. Or it might not be a direct relationship. It might be that they then can market more products, so then they buy different products at the markets, and then their dietary diversity changes as a consequence of that. I think that's the other challenge, though. In One Health, we're not looking at these problems in a simplistic way. We're looking at it as a systems thing, and it becomes really complicated. And I think this is where maybe a lot of maybe One Health or these multidisciplinary approaches aren't for everyone, because I think a lot of people prefer to just have a very, I work on this discipline, I focus on this discipline, and I understand the world this way. You actually need those people too. But you need to have people that can look at that problem in a bigger context. And nutrition and animal production is a classic example of that.
Thank you, Siobhan. Dr. Aishu Malik, sir, please. Dr. Aishu Malik.
Actually, scruff fever is from rats that is coming up very fast. Rabies in Mexico and all these things. Rabies coming from bats.
Here also?
Huh?
Do we have the incidence of that disease here also?
This is everywhere. Rabies coming from bats.
Dr. Zia, please, because it is streamed live, because it creates chaos that we are not able to understand each other. So please, Dr. Malik, to go ahead.
Well, we have been talking of One Health for quite some time now. And every time what we emphasize is that we have to come together and discuss our strategy for control of infections which come around from animals to humans, humans to animals, in different components of environment, right? And everybody has been emphasizing it that we have to come out of the silos and join heads together to come to a solution where we can effectively control diseases, but diseases keep on spreading. What I understand is that we have to discuss here that we have to come out of the silos and join hands together. On ground, what I feel is that we can find a common platform wherein people from different specialties can come together under the banner of One Health. We have practically faced these difficulties. For example, MAP attempts to have a collaborative studies on tuberculosis and brucellosis, which are problems of this region. We have to collaborate with the medical fraternity, but I didn't get the procedure on that. We have to promote those studies here. Right. We then organized a program under One Health. We had at time somewhere in 2016, I think, where a program under World Veterinary, where the theme was One Health. We invited people from all concerned specialties to join hands together and discuss One Health. But I think hardly anyone from medical fraternity, particularly which is more concerned with it, joined us. So we have a common platform at international level which deals with One Health issues. We don't have any at national level.
Okay, thank you, sir. Basically, what I understand is that sir wants to say we have tried a lot, but we have failed to give a platform to the One Health. How you have succeeded to take this initiative? No, not from the medical side. One Health initiative works in Liverpool, how it works in the Ethiopia. Why it doesn't work here?
Well, what's not working? You need to help me understand what's not working at the university level or at the government level?
No, not government level. Basically, that initiative might not have reached to the government. We might have tried it at the institutional level. That is why this discussion is going. The recommendation will go. Let us not have the institutional level. We'll have a draft. We'll have a plan. And we'll submit it to the government through proper channels. We'll screen it steadily, and hopefully, we'll have that platform provided where we can integrate and collaborate with every institution. Please, what to?
I think I want to go back and ask you a question though. And what does success look like to you? Have you defined success in terms of what is the endpoint of whatever One Health you're talking about? You know, it could be just a meeting and having a good representation of different sectors showing up. That could be success. Or it could be
That's the best
establishment.
That's the best.
Yeah, Yeah, or it could be the establishment of the institution. I think sometimes, and this is something I'll talk about on Monday, is we don't actually take time to really. I think we all recognize the problem. We recognize we don't work together. You can see that that's probably not really good, but I don't think we're very good at articulating if we're working together, what's happening differently. Why is that the solution that we're trying to propose? So if we can more clearly articulate that as a vision, I think it will be easier to then know things differently. So one of the common challenges I think is that you see a lot of medical or human health people drop out. They may not come to the meetings in the first place. That's possibly because as animal health people, we're talking to them about problems that don't really interesting or don't really matter in their day to day. You know, I think the danger.
Siobhan, sorry to interrupt you. I see your participation in this program, the participation of all the concerned faculties, the participation of all the One Health related disciplines. I believe this is the success of this One Health initiative. And I'm sure with your inputs, with your suggestions and feedback, we'll work hard on it. And I'm sure in near future we will have the institution or the School of One Health in SKUAST-K. Yeah, Dr. Feroz, Dean Faculty of Fisheries, please.
Thank you. My question is about so far as the One Health mission is considered. In order to have the assured quality life and environment, we have so many laws globally. We have laws, strict laws, so far as the health mission is considered, or One Health mission rather. So, for example, we do have so far as the world over is considered, for the place of development, we are destroying our environment and everything. There is no doubt that. So, say for example, for developing countries, they are using the more than 50% of the fossil fuels. But the CFCs, they are, you can say, effective so far as the environment is considered. One more example, say for example, during the autumn season, if farmers in Punjab, they are burning the, you can say, agricultural wastes, and the plant is being burned by the billion people. Likewise, in developing countries, having such, you can say, activities and effectives on the underdeveloped countries. Do we have certain laws, strict laws, where we can have assured life for the globally for the better life and, you can say, better environment?
Thank you for this help. You got the question. Basically, he says that in developed world, the One Health initiative is successful because they have the strict laws. Okay, the laws regulating the animal health, the environmental health, and the human health. But that is not the case of the scenario with the developing world. What's your take on that? Should we need to have impose the stricter laws, or
So I would say most of the developing countries are far more advanced in One Health working than developed countries are. That's largely because a lot of the funding for One Health is coming through international donors like USAID and SDO and others. And they are then sort of helping countries to set up national platforms. So, National One Health Steering Committee in Ethiopia and Kenya is the One Health platform and others. These things don't exist in Australia or in the UK, actually. So be careful when you make the assumption that it's somehow working well in developed countries. I would say it's not. The individual disciplines, yes, like the human health sector, the animal health sector, agriculture, is much more regulated. These are areas that in disciplinary ways are functioning better.
Dr. Siobhan, we have the scientists who are working in the internal quality assurance cell of the university. And I'm sure that they are noticing these things, whether we need to request the government or the policymakers to implement or enforce the strict laws for making this program successful. And Dr. Sumira ma'am and Dr. Shakil sir is also here. They are working to ensure the quality in the institutions. I'm sure they might have noticed this question. Dr. Akram from Head Public Health, please.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Akram Hussain. I'm heading the department of Veterinary Public Health in this faculty. And we have been engaged in teaching veterinary public health, zoonosis, environmental hygiene, and so many courses in One Health approach. We have conducted some programs in 2 years regarding zoonosis control and celebrating zoonosis day, One Health hackathon, and so many, and also antimicrobial research also. So we are more than happy that we are going to establish here in this uh, school of zoonosis. And but I think our division will also to play an important role in this center. So that is my just suggestion, so that we can work together for one program and we commence in this direction.
More important.
Yeah.
Just to make a comment, I think it's really important when you're establishing this institution to not equate One Health with zoonosis, AMR, or food safety. All of those things can be approached from a One Health perspective or from not a One Health perspective.
But we feel that this public health should be
Included in this.
No, this is
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. There is no question about that. There is no question about that. Veterinary public health is will be. I cannot say will be. I'm sorry to say I'm not any authority. But if it is procured, the roadmap is procured. Absolutely, it will be part of that. It has to. Yeah, yeah.
because
absolutely.
in everywhere I
They
think
have
that
to lead.
one
Absolutely.
problem was the main
Absolutely, but it doesn't,
Yeah,
my point is,
Which
it shouldn't
way?
stop.
yeah, absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
My point is it shouldn't stop there, and I think it goes back to the comments earlier. If you are always talking about zoonoses to medical people, they're not going to want to continue to work with you because zoonoses are a very small part of their workload. And they don't encounter zoonoses very often. So make the focus of a One Health Institute on cooperation across disciplines, solving challenges that exist across these disciplines. You know, you might have skills in something that they don't have skills in, and that's where you should situate
Yeah, so but we have just one, sir. We have one. She talked about the collaboration.
government is also
Yeah, we have Dr. Rabani from Community Medicine Sikkim, from Medical Premier Medical Institute of this UT. Dr. Rabani, please. It's working.
I think I would be audible like this to everyone. It's fine. So, first of all, thank you for organizing such a wonderful event. And second, I was listening to lots of comments coming with regard to the medical fraternity or probably the lack of cooperation. First, I would begin with this thing from today. Whatever has happened, even if you come across that there was not that much of expected support, but as one of the representatives from the Department of Community Medicine, Sherry Institute of Medical Sciences, I definitely would like to mention over here, you'll find all kinds of support that is being expected from the medical fraternity with regard to this particular One Health initiative. We were discussing about the number of diseases which affect from the animals to humans, or rather from plants to animals as well as humans. There are innumerable of those, and we're already dealing with them in a preventive medicine approach as well as in a management approach. There are a number of diseases. There were discussions with regard to COVID, avian influenza, zoonosis, a number of those. Somebody spoke about the trematode infestation and nematode infestation. The list goes on. Cysticercosis, there's an endless list to that. So there's no doubt, yes, of course, there is an aspect of, I would say, in the communicable diseases, an aspect of an interaction between the animals and the humans and the plants and the humans. But I think the other point that we also need to take care of is basically the non-communicable diseases as a matter of fact in the concept of One Health. And that's actually the commercial determinants of health, the food chain systems, the supply and the demand, how things are happening. And yes, of course, the infectious diseases have been there since inception and they have been there. But the re-emerging or the resurface of N type of diseases, some newer diseases, is actually connected to the social and as well as the commercial determinants of health. So I think under the concept of One Health or taking it further to the planetary health concepts, we need to take into consideration those ones as well. And then the climate change concept. Therein, I would still like to wrap up with this saying that, yes, for example, we have been discussing with regard to how do we connect in the interdisciplinary approaches. Yes, of course, we're going to have interactive sessions to begin with the today's initiative. Then webinars, seminars, whatever, CMEs and all, maybe conferences. Is there anything additionally that we can take steps in which direction? For example, a roadmap that may be kind of drafted after this particular session, which may even be jointly or collaboratively recommend to the concerned competent authorities, for which there could be a number of steps. So if at all there could be something in that direction, maybe those would be one of the concrete
Thank you,
steps.
Dr. Rabani. Let me appreciate the efforts and the cooperation of the skills. During this workshop, we will be signing the SKUAST-K, we will be signing MOU with the skills. And Professor Kool, Director skills, has already this one passed that MOU, and it will be done during this workshop. Thank you for that cooperation, and I'm sure that the workshop, that the roadmap that will be developed out of this interactive session, definitely it will be shared for making it better and more refined. We have Dr. Mudassir is waiting from, yeah, please, Dr. Mudassir.
Hi, Siobhan, it was a nice interactive session. And knowing about your expertise in One Health approach, and it is really appreciate again. So I have two concerns. First concern is that regarding the antimicrobial resistance. So as per the recent data shared by the WHO, it is antimicrobial resistance is now commonly alarming situation. And in 2030, and it has been reported that there will be 70 million deaths due to antimicrobial. Want to know from your end, because you are the Liverpool-based scientist, and I have Googled, and you are completely working on One Health approach, especially your group is on working on the antimicrobial. Want to know from your side, what are the concrete solutions just to stop this antimicrobial resistance? This is my first question. And secondly, question is that my friend here on my side, Dr. Rabani from the medical health, it is just for the centuries we are hearing about knowing about the science that agriculture is animals are dependent on agriculture and we are dependent on animals. It is sort of a biological science that it is interconnected and it is a one health. Want to know about is One Health concerned about only the transmission of infectious disease, or it is out of that? If it are, I want to know what are the non-communicable diseases that we have to look in the perspective of One Health. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mudassir, because since this question pertains to the disease other than the infectious diseases, as Dr. Rabani has pointed out very clearly that there are non-communicable diseases that we have to take care. And second thing, you wanted to know from them that how this roadmap will be developed.
Well, and you wanted me to go and
Yes, I want to answer from you. What do you want the session for?
yeah, but I've got to say, I've purposely avoided AMR in my career. There's a lot of really great microbiologists who are doing work in that space and who I'd like to connect to your institution too. Largely because that is a really important problem, I think, in India specifically, you know, it gets written up internationally about some of the challenges around antibiotics. But no, to come back to the second point, it's not about infectious diseases, it's about sustainable development. That is what One Health is about. The point is, at the moment, we're not developing sustainably, and that's why we're seeing problems like emerging infectious diseases, like AMR, like obesity, and these sorts of things, because our systems are completely out of balance. The four drivers of emerging diseases that I was talking about earlier, but it's not just emerging diseases. It builds onto obesity problems, malnutrition problems. Sometimes in the same populations.
Thank you, Siobhan. Dr. Siobhan, we're running short of the time, basically. We have a couple of questions. Dr. Naveed. We have the question from Dr. Moody. Yeah, she's head services department of this institute.
Hello, ma'am. We had an introduction before this session. I would just like to add that like Malik sir was saying that we are not having the type of cooperation like we ought to have from the medical fraternity. Now that we have a person from medical fraternity over here also, and since being the internship coordinator of this faculty also, I would like to say just for starting from scratch till the school of One Health comes up, isn't it possible for our internship students to have exposure to the medical this fraternity like community medicine, and people from medical fraternity they will have exposure to our hospitals, so that they inculcate the idea of One Health, and we just put in the idea of the diseases that are prevalent, that are zoonotic diseases that are possible to transmit from humans and animals, and subsequently they will know about the diseases that can be transmitted from animals and humans. They will be destined for our future. They will be test when they will get sensitized to this idea. Probably they will come up with the things, with the solutions of this problem.
Thank you. That's a great question, but I would like to put it straight away to Dr. Rabani.
Yes, we would love to have this sort of collaboration
Dr. Rabani,
with
please.
this.
Without any doubt, you will have the first batch of, I would say, observers for an externship at your institute, and we would be expecting the same.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think Dr. Ijaz,
Sir.
One now.
this is a wonderful question posed by Dr. Mui, but we need to institutionalize it.
Yes.
We have an MOU because their director and our vice chancellor need to take this at an appropriate level, so that students we can have that we can
just
actually develop internship.
I think we already have an MOU with SKIMS. We already have a signed MOU with SKIMS.
Sir, with all respect to the chair, it will be taken up in the recommendation that will come out of this interactive session. And I believe that this is excellent question from Dr. Mohi.
I'd just like to add to the information of this house. I'm from
Dr. Sabia,
from the Department of Microbiology. I was funded $10,000 by University of Nebraska Medical Center to work on antimicrobial resistance as a part of my fellowship way back in 2021. And when we were talking about that the medical side is not cooperating, I would like to say that they did cooperate. I'm working on escape pathogens, antimicrobial resistance on escape pathogens with Department of Microbiology, Raman Medical College, Srinagar. And we have generated a substantial data on antimicrobial resistance at genotypic levels. We have been screening their isolates, and they have been constantly cooperating with us for beta-lactamase gene and this MET resistance as well as the SCC acid gene. And at the same time, simultaneously, we are working on resistance in poultry and trying to find out one common origin based on the sequence analysis. So just for the information of this house, I've been working on it for 1 good year and probably will be coming out with a very good publication in near future. The Department of Microbiology, GMC Srinagar, one of the leading tertiary care hospitals, is participating in the antimicrobial resistance.
Thank you, ma'am, for your information as well. That is great to hear. We are also having MOU that will be done during this course of this workshop with the community medicine GMC Srinagar. Okay, so let's have a question from Dr. Samira. She's also the co-coordinator of internal quality assurance cell of this university.
Thank you, Dr. Ijaz, but I'm here today as head agrometrology. And without confining this to pathogens and diseases only, I feel that the One Health should be a proactive system, and where we have to think about the early warning systems in every phase of life, so that before we get any disease or before we get any problem, we are active enough to combat that problem. For example, it is not only the pathogens or diseases, such type of infectious diseases which we are presently suffering from. The biggest problem is that we are suffering from such health diseases like heart diseases, diabetes, etc., which is directly related to the foods we take or the style of living we have. So, in order to have an early warning system, we should work instead of working on diseases only.
And we appreciate your timely advisory to the farmers. being the head of the agrometeorology. Dr. Yeah, please go ahead. Sir, Dr. Tariq Rajesh.
Madam,
Just please, with all respect to you, sir, be brief in your question.
I have a very straightforward question. I want to know the role of IoT in One Health. Once we are talking about One Health, nowadays it's IoT, artificial intelligence and automation of things, which are very much used worldwide. And at your place, how ahead it is from our place. That's so that there's a less human intervention.
Digital healthcare, sir is talking about the digital healthcare, and that has been put as so far as Mr. permits to share that digital healthcare is one of the components of this kind of initiative. Dr. Mehraj, he's also head looking at quality analysis of food.
Thank you. Dignitaries on that and good afternoon. Myself, Amrisha, I'm heading right now RCRQA, that's Research Center for Residue and Quality Analysis SKUAST-K. I want to just brief over here that we have already, I think, SKUAST-K, not me, it is SKUAST-K, we have already initiated work on One Health program because we are working on pesticide residues in the water, heavy metals, metabolites, toxins, aflatoxin, in variety of the food and food products, agriculture allied fields like water, then fish, meat, and human blood as well in collaboration with the GMC Srinagar. They are obviously collaborating in that thing. So here I want to just add, we are talking about the diseases, either infectious or non-infectious diseases in animals and humans. I think if plant pathogens or plant diseases are not directly damaging or infecting the humans or animals, but we have to take care of the products, disease-causing pathogens and their toxins. I think there are a number of pathogens which are producing toxins and they are having adverse effects on the human health or animal health. In case of smart foods, they are causing skin infections and all those things. So that should be. And in addition to that, we should see what are the strategies for the management of these diseases in humans, animals, and what are their adverse effects on the human health, animal health. Because there are a number of reports from Sikkim which have correlated the data of brain tumor, and they have mentioned it that those farmers who are directly or indirectly associated with the farming community with the pesticides, their number is very high compared to the others. They are from good publications from the Sikkim.
Thank you, Dr. Mehraj. Basically, those recommendations should come from your side. And what would be the strategies to tackle those problems? And I'm sure that you will contribute in developing this roadmap for One Health initiative, and your recommendations regarding that will be incorporated. Please highlight me. Yeah, Dr. Tawid, first, Dr. Tawid, please apologize to Dr. Tawid, Dr. Mohit Shah, who is Dean Faculty of Engineering. He wants to share something.
Thank you, Dr. Ijaj. I have one very specific question. We know food quality that affect One Health, and there are several issues of One Health that affect.
One major issue, how we manage waste management is the one very burning problem here. Waste may be different plastic waste, maybe municipality waste, maybe industrial waste. And water that is good means through these means that contaminate at our agriculture field, and they are adding heavy metals even in our groundwater. So groundwater quality also deteriorates. Can you suggest how we tackle this waste management problems effective and efficiently so that we can improve our One Health program?
Thank you, sir. We have Dr. Tawhid with us. He's a veteran working in the Srinagar Municipal Corporation. Let's hear him how they manage this waste in Srinagar. Dr. Tawhid, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dr. Tawhid Ahmed. principal veterinary officer looking after the animal birth control and anti-rabies vaccination program within the Srinagar limits. In fact, I would like to hear we are collaborating with this university from the last 20 years. I feel sorry to interrupt you. We have been joined with us by Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Nazir Ahmed Junaisa, who is on director there. He has been the motivation, the guide for initiating this One Health in SKUAST Kashmir. And the leadership qualities he has demonstrated in taking SKUAST Kashmir to the excellence of the present scenario. Is appreciable and sir, straight, I request you to please share your views. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Ajas. Am I audible?
Yeah, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. What I am just seeing from here, we have our worthy Director Education, Professor Siddiqui Sahib there, chairing the session. And we have our Dean, Dr. Bandisar, also there. And we have able faculty of this university. And I believe I'm not just seeing our very special guest, Professor Siobhan Moore from the University of Liverpool. If I'm not able to get her through my slide here. And let me say you good afternoon to all of you. And let me compliment and congratulate. Oh, there is some echo is happening. That's why I'm just, so, my dear friends, I am this time in Ladakh. I was on a tour to Kargil, then to Afghanistan, now to Leh. We are on an important trip here. So I'm very pleased that we at the University of Agricultural Sciences at Srinagar have been conceptualizing over a period of time that we should have, or rather we should take the first initiative towards farming in Jammu and Kashmir. And I believe that today we have a very special guest from the Liverpool University, UK, who will be with us. And I believe that coming up during this conference, we will have experts from different fields, from the veterinary medicine, veterinary science, and health experts. We'll be having experts from the medical sciences, and we'll be also having the experts from the environmental sciences and the plant sciences as well. And our endeavor in this university is always think differently and to see that how best we can help society, the communities, and the entire ecosystem around us. And we have seen the impacts of the COVID-19, which brought everything to the knees during the COVID situations. People had really, forgotten about these communicable diseases before the COVID-19. Much of the focus before the COVID-19 was on the kind of the non-communicable diseases, the lifestyle kind of the diseases, and people were just, complacent with it. But now is the time that we have to gear up to see that we don't just see that in future and such challenges are there. We have to be, quite ready in advance at how to deal with them. And we see that our borders are very loose, and how the climate is changing, how new diseases are emerging very fast, and the impact of the use of antibiotics and agrochemicals, how these organisms are mutating very fast, and they're resistant and tolerant. These bacteria are developing against those chemicals, or those antibiotics, and by doing with intensive agriculture throughout the world, to what extent we are polluting our environment, soil, the water, the air, and how ultimately goes into the food chains of the humans, and how are those newer diseases happening and coming up, and the frequency, especially what we see in Kashmir, the incidence of some diseases like the cancer is rising really fast, and many of the other diseases which are because of those pollutants, either in soil or in our foods, that's impacting our health. I would simply say that this is right at the opportune time for we people in this university take that first lead to see that how do we connect those dots, and how do we see that we are able that is a huge animal and environmental health for a better future for us. And how should we organize that one health system or one health kind of school of one health university? Who are the ones with whom we could collaborate? Who are the ones who should be part of it? What should be the focus of that school of one health, which we are contemplating in the university? And that's, I believe, the point of agenda and point of debate for all of you experts. Let me tell to my faculty and our guests here that our university has already created a niche in the country where on many accounts quite proactive in bringing up new ideas, uh, be it the education system, agricultural education system, and I believe that compete in the agricultural education system, but the institutions beyond the agricultural education system are also, taking those newer ideas approach, or be it the new research endeavors we are bringing in agriculture, and be it the kind of the new and novel concepts, the innovations, or the new platforms, technological platforms, the artificial intelligence, the gene editing technology, the CRISPR-Cas technology, the speed building facilities. And the goal is that how do we keep track with the changes that are happening globally. I will not take much time of yours. I believe there will be some speakers who have to debate on this very important issue. And let me again welcome Professor Siobhan, who has our guest here in the university from Liverpool University. And let's hope that once this 4 days program is over, we have some kind of beautiful recommendations from here, which will guide our university to lay the foundations for that very school of One Health stronger. So I would again compliment and congratulate you. With me is my director, Dr. Dil Muhammad Maghdoom. We are traveling together. He will say a few words, and then he will be saying a few words to you, and then get disconnected because we have some next assignment. I will just leave it to Dr. Dil Muhammad.
Yeah, thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Maghdoom, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Nazir Ahmed Ghanai Saab, for giving me an opportunity to join the House for a very noble cause. I'm thankful and I'm welcome to Professor Siobhan, the very special guest for the day. And I also mentioned here the person who is chairing in absence of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Siddiqui, then Dean Faculty of Veterinary Science, Dr. Bande, and all other faculty members and dear audience. A very good afternoon to all of you. You see, we are traveling this time, and I've got this opportunity to talk to you about the One Health program. Is in fact the wonderful program that our Honorable Vice Chancellor has been talking about since the day he joined his office. You see, COVID has taught us the lesson. There were the people who could recognize this joint ecosystem. We have seen that once our people were dying across the world, they were aspiring for a wonderful environment, free environment to breathe, which they could not get, and then we had to need the necessity of the oxygen, which was being made available at a very demand. Besides the oxygen, where the dearth of the antibiotics and painkillers, where the role of microbiology and our medical fraternity comes. Along with that, we were asked to have the immunoboosters, the nutri-cereals, and of course, the nutritional foods that could be supplied to us through the agriculture. We are thankful to our farmers who have been the part of this very One Health ecosystem, who have come out with the different products, and they did not allow anybody to die of the food. You see, the food was a very wonderful component, as our Honorable Vice Chancellor has already been taking the initiatives in newer technology, newer platforms for getting their agriculture uplifted. Should it be the automation? Should it be the robotics, or should it be, provision of these Internet of Things in the agriculture and different types of the drones which we are speaking of? Every effort is to be made to minimize the pesticides and the fertilizers that otherwise tax the health of the human beings. We are talking of the natural farming. We are talking of the organic farming. We are talking about the pest-free agriculture. And this is all at the cost of One Health, that we try to make this environment free. We want to make our natural environments to come forward. We want to preserve our environment. We want to make our water bodies free of pollution. And we would like to give our newer generation a fresh environment to live. I suppose rest all will be deliberated upon in this house. I'm thankful to my Vice Chancellor. I'm thankful to our special guest and all the audience. I wish your program all the best to carry. Thank you very much and thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining us from the distance. Just follow the please. Yeah, sir,
We appreciate the interest of our Honorable Vice Chancellor and the Director Research, Director Extension traveling with him. They are traveling in the most, this is very high altitude area where there is the shortage of oxygen. You must have appreciated, you must have seen that they were having the problem of breathing shortness of breath and other things. So this One Health initiative which we have taken, we have started, this demonstrates the seriousness on our part. Our institutional leaders, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, and the Director Extension who is traveling with him. So we are that much serious in this endeavor.
Yeah, absolutely.
I believe this deserves a clap.
Yeah. Thank you. Dr. Please continue and talk about the studies and the investment within the city. We have from last 11 years, we are having a MOU university with the vaccination and anti-diabetes program of the secure government. And we know that rabies are 100% fatal but 100% preventable. By severe cooperation between different sectors, we can stakeholders, we can control the disease by 2030. We are aiming for zero deaths by 2030. Ma'am, I want to know that I just want to look. In Ethiopia, there were just only 3,000 deaths due to rabies. But in India, India is considered as a capital of the rabies. Here, about 18 to 20,000 deaths are due to rabies. I want to know how you succeeded in controlling the rabies in Ethiopia. So that we can.
Thank you, Dr.
Not my area. I do not work in diabetes. So, but I will say, Ethiopia has a surprisingly high level of diabetes compared to what I would expect it to have. This is an example of a country that has a high level of malnutrition, but high levels of diabetes as well, which is quite complicated, right? Maybe just to emphasize, like I can hear you all have very different, you all come from different perspectives and different ideas about what you can bring to One Health, what kinds of problems you have or could potentially address with One Health, which is really great. And so again, coming back to your comment, what makes the One Health initiative successful is tackling local problems, things that you collectively as a group can identify as being this is a problem in our area and we can bring different expertise to that area to address that problem. This is where I think a lot of them have failed because a lot of the interest has been funded by international donors and it's had a specific mandate when they're coming and it's been quite difficult to deliver on the ground real One Health solutions because of the funding limitations. Since you're really going at a pace of really trying to institutionalize this, I would say frame it around the local issues that you know are important, that you know you've got the skills to address, and that's going to keep people motivated. If you know that you're tackling something that actually means something to the local community.
Thank you, that's sir. We can also discuss this during the tea and during the couple of days we have the program. One last question, yeah, two questions I'll put. First, I would like to hear from Dr. Mara. So please, but please be brief, sir.
be very brief. It was pleasure to listen to, and she highlighted the role of community services. Yeah, in fact, we recently registered a trust. It's called this, the trust that is called Inform Trust. We know in Ethiopia there are some models in other countries. Zakat is used to fund research and community services. And we shall offer this cost for the successful running of this One Health concept. This idea is that this will fund it is certain services where you can approach us. And the second, I will invite all grads, all professionals. Several million dollars are offered or given as zakat or ushur or sadaqah by veterinarians or by the SKUAST faculty and all those employees. But if only 20%, 10% of it is professionally generalized into serving farmers, because our this basically specializes in giving zakat and sadaqah directly to the farmer, who multiplies it within a year and gives to other farmers. So that will be, and then we will be helping his children in education and other things. So that will be one help.
Thank you, sir. Please share the details of the ZIST with us. We have the Dean Students Welfare Officer here also looking at education. Please share the details. Thank you. Just two questions before we have a question from Dean, Faculty of Forestry. Please.
Good afternoon to all of you.
Good afternoon.
I don't have a question, but just a suggestion. Suggestion rather, it is we would see that when a shoot comes up at the cost. So it should be a suggestion that should be open to all. Like we see that Louis Pasteur, he said to be the father of the immunology. He discovered the things which he gave the humanity, the many things. So that's like the rabies. He discovered just by chance how it will be transmitted from animals to the humans. So if there's such a nature comes up, it should be open to all. Then whoever comes up with some discovery, so that anyone comes and he comes with a small idea, and he can come up and scientists can work on it. And it can be a boost
Thank you, sir.
to the whole community. I think
Thank you very much, sir. The nature of the audience, the nature of the gathering demonstrates that it is open to everybody.
It is not just open, it should, whenever the network comes up, it should be open to all the people. The whoever comes up with a small discovery, so that it can become a big discovery. Thank you very much.
The last question, we have only one environmental specialist here, Dr. Shobhan. Because environment being an important component of One Health, we would like to hear from you.
First of all, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Professor Siobhan, heading Division of Environmental Sciences. As far as One Health mission is concerned, I feel waste management is very important to carry this mission along. I want to know, ma'am, from your side. I want to know, ma'am, from your side, what do you do to manage waste at source at your own place? Because that is very important when we talk about One Health.
Waste management. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Waste management in more context.
Waste management. Solid waste. Okay.
Oh, waste management.
Yeah, waste management.
Okay. Lots of different examples there. So, in an example like Australia, waste management is highly regulated and so it's addressed through regulation. In a context like Ethiopia, waste management is done at household level. You would know WASH, the acronym WASH that's used, that's promoted. And those WASH interventions are very much focused on management of human waste, and there's no recognition that there's also animal waste in that kind of environment as well. So we've been advocating for a One Health approach to waste management, or One Health approach to WASH, where within the total production of waste management, people waste management in that context is being managed.
We'll have an interaction during the workshop on Monday, the workshop with Dr. Shobhan. Okay, so with this, we thank you all. We end up this interactive session. I think that you hand over this proceedings of this workshop to Dr. Nusrat. Just we will have the address by the chief guest, and after that we will have the cup of tea there also.
I would like to express sincere thanks to the expert team that was moderating the session, and the guest audience for this brainstorming and highly fruitful interactive session. Now I request the chief guest of this event, Professor M.A. Siddiqui sir, Director of Education, to address the gathering council.
I am very honored to stand before a galaxy of intellectuals who are here during this afternoon, representing Honorable Vice Chancellor, who has already talked to you uh, through a distant mode. Uh, Basically, what has been said. First of all, I would like to thank all my colleagues who are here, the deans, and our super elevated members of the faculty. I'm really thankful to you that even after superannuation, you have that uh, zeal to come and join hands with us, providing valuable inputs. We have Dean Faculty of Horticulture, then we have Associate Dean College of Agriculture, we have Professor uh, Shakil Saab, Professor Azmat Saab. I go by line itself, Professor Samira, and we have Dr. Uh, Rabban from SKIMS, we have Dr. Said Pukta, Professor Farooq Saab, Dean Faculty of Sericulture, Professor Feroz Saab, Dean Faculty of Fisheries, Dr. Tariq Raja, Professor Shardar, and I can see Professor Shaukat Ara, even Professor Javed, and all other scientists, HODs, and above all, the Dean Faculty of Veterinary Sciences who is hosting this, and I am thankful also to Dr. Ejaz for having gathered a wonderful gathering, which is the need of ours insofar as the One Health mission is concerned. Lot has been said and discussed also by experts, including a thought-provoking lecture by none other than Dr. Siobhan from Liverpool. I'm really uh, thankful to you that you have joined us and have faced the brunt of all the questions which have been put to you, and you have been very calm and tackling issues. And I'm very sure that during the course of few days you are here, I am told, you will be putting your expertise into how we will institutionalize One Health in our this very wonderful institution, which stands at position 4 throughout the India. Uh, Having said this, since I am not an expert in the field, what I did while I was sitting over here, I tried to make some notes, and I will try to consolidate in a layman's language what exactly we have been discussing in this afternoon session regarding One Health. In an interconnected world, the health of humans, animals, and the environment are undeniably intertwined. The concept of One Health recognizes this interdependency and emphasizes the need for collaborative efforts across disciplines to address global health challenges. By integrating knowledge from medicine, veterinary science, environmental science, and beyond, we can better understand and combat emerging diseases, antibiotic resistance, zoonotic infections, and environmental degradation. Our institution is committed to fostering research, education, and outreach initiatives that promote the principle of One Health. We need to create innovative solutions that protect not only human well-being but also health of animals and ecosystem that sustains us. This will help us secure a healthier, safer, and more sustainable future for generations to come. I would ask the audience to picture this. An infectious disease originates in a remote village and rapidly spreads to neighboring towns. It infects animals and humans alike, leaving science baffled and healthcare system overwhelmed. In this scenario, a cellular approach where human medicine, veterinary medicine, and environmental science are treated as separate entities would undoubtedly fall short. Really? This is where brilliance of One Health shines through. One Health is not merely a catchphrase, it is a philosophy of interdisciplinary collaboration. Through this approach, we can address crucial disease related issues, climate change, and habitat loss, which have far reaching consequences on health, economy, and ecosystem alike. Consider the case of Ebola, which highlights the critical to understand interconnections between wildlife, livestock, and humans. The question is, how can One Health improve human health and well-being? There are several ways which my distinguished audience knows. I will just remind them one by one, few of them. First would be early disease detection and prevention by recognizing and monitoring diseases that originate in animals before they spread to human beings. That's one. Second, zoonotic disease control. Many infectious diseases such as Ebola, HIV, and COVID-19 have animal origins. One health approach would help in better understanding and management of these diseases. Third, antimicrobial resistance management. Overuse of antibiotics in both humans and animals contribute to the rise of antimicrobial resistance. One health approach advocates for responsible antibiotic use. Let me share with you that in some of the developed countries, antibiotics are rarely prescribed as opposed to our region where just one feels headache and he is put on antibiotics. So this is a very important point to note that we have to see these antimicrobial resistance should we have to manage it properly. Fourth would be environmental protection. By addressing environmental issues such as pollution and habitat degradation, as also referred by Head Division of Environmental Sciences, One Health can lead to cleaner air, water, and food resources. Fifth would be food safety. Ensuring the safety of the food supply chain in the ecosystem is essential for preventing foodborne illnesses. This needs to be discussed and deliberated upon. Six, collaborative research and expertise sharing. The collaborative approaches fosters knowledge sharing and innovation, leading to better understanding and management of complex health issues. Seven, improved public health policies. Policymakers can make more informed decisions on health issues and develop effective policies. Eight, global health security. One health approach enables quicker detection of emerging diseases and more coordinated responses to mitigate their impact. In essence, One Health concept recognizes that humans are an integral part of a large ecosystem, and by safeguarding the health of animals and the environment, we ultimately protect the human race and human well-being. At the end, I hope that these deliberations will result in fruitful recommendations to come up so that our institution will be the first institution, at least in the UT of Jammu and Kashmir, to institutionalize One Health, maybe in the shape of School of One Health or whatsoever the name we give it. Simultaneously, we need voluntary contributions, not in terms of money, but in terms of time and energy from all the stakeholders. We should always not bank upon government support. We should always come up voluntarily for voluntary groups because this One Health emphasizes the diversity in unity. So this diversity is already here. Can we think of organizing some voluntary groups which can help us in realizing the goal of One Health, at least this region of the country? The third would be last. We need to collaborate and rope in some non-governmental organizations into our whenever we try to institutionalize One Health, so that since they are working on the ground and we need to create awareness among them and rope them in so as to see One Health approach flourishing and let this One Health be not only institutionalized, let our university be the front runner, at least in this region, to lead the path of One Health. With these words, I thank you once again for giving me a patient hearing. Though I said that I am not an expert in this field, and at the same time, I very much recognize that I once again thank you, Dr. Siobhan M. Moore, that you have been here and you have talked about One Health, and I'm sure you'll spare some time with our organizing team to when they draft the resolution of this interactive session, so that these recommendations not only we rectify in our institution, but we also apprise the government about what exactly the intellectuals of this region need. Thank you very much.
Thank you sir, for sharing your thought-provoking and informative understanding involving One Health. As we come close to the interactive session, may I request Professor Abdul Hai, in charge Faculty Outreach Center, to propose the formal vote of thanks.
I feel honored and privileged to propose a vote of thanks before this August gathering. I, on behalf of the organizing committee, convey deep regards and hearty thanks to Dean Students Welfare and Director Education, Professor M.A. Siddiqui, who has spent his valuable time with us for the success of this program. I'm also highly thankful to our ex-professors who has retired from this faculty, particularly Professor Malik Sahab and Professor Ziaul Hassan Munshi Sahab. I'm highly thankful to you that you have accepted our this invitation and make it to our faculty. I'm also thankful to deans of various faculties who have dean from forestry, fisheries, agriculture, engineering, sericulture, and in our audience we have veterinary officer, SMC, some participants from Government Medical College, students, faculty members from Shalimar, from Faculty of Fisheries. So I'm highly thankful to them that they have attended this program. I'm also thankful to the organizing committee members which are working behind the curtain for the successful implementation of any program. I'm also thankful to IT team, particularly Fahim and Atal Sahab. This program is live on YouTube channel of the SKUAST. So just now you might have heard from our Vice Chancellor and Director Extension. They were traveling in a vehicle from Ladakh. Special thanks to press and media people. They are with us, and all the time when we used to call them and they are with us, I am highly thankful to you. So with these words, I am also thankful to the organizer, Ajaz Ahmed, who gave me this chance.
Sir, you are an organizer, sir. Just a coordinator. You are an
Because actually, this faculty outreach center, I am the in charge of the faculty outreach center. That is why I am the organizer of.
Extension is an important, outreach is an important component of one.
Okay.
That is why.
Because he is my student, that is why he is talking like that.
We take the liberty.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I request all the dignitaries, including deans of subject matter faculties, to join us for a cup of tea. Rest of the audience will be served tea in the room adjacent to the conference hall. This is of the cost of space.
एक announcement और कीजिए. We have some products जो हमने इनको बुलाया है ना एजुकेशन. It's from our staff. So there are some एक तो ये क्या नाम है saffron है and other items. So they can share.
You can, anybody who wants to see or buy something, you can go to the stall and. Thank you. Thank you.
You also for sir,
I'm like a dean of research, university dean of research. I'm just a worker, sir. I'm just a worker, sir. Some teachers and his deans. Ladies and gentlemen,